Please repeat after me. Devotees, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavada Sevaya. Bhagavadi Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavadi Naishtigim. Om Nagyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salagaya Chakshurun Milidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stabidam Yena Bhudale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadadi Sopadandigam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yadabadagamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunadhanidam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalidam Shri Vishakhanidamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpade Govesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranavami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Sakana Vavadu Sahanau Bhunaktum Sagaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinamadidastu Ma Vidushavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tatsat Om Namo Namo Aniruddhaya Rishikeshendriyatmane Namaha Paramahamsaya Purnaya Navurtatmane. Also, I will recite the first two verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadyasya Yado Anyaya Didaraschattve Sabhijnaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muhyandiya Suryaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yada Vinimayo Yatrat Sargo Amrusha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirastagogaham Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-providing personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we were going through the first third canto, first chapter, and 43rd verse. Yeah, third canto, first chapter. Yeah. So We were the 42nd verse, and today we will cover the 42nd and 43rd verse. So in this verse, we were going through how the Vidura was completely surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vidura was very much exalted devotee and a prime minister. He was living in that opulences. Even though Vidura was living there, Vidura's heart is completely connected, attached to the Krishna, and Vidura was always upkeeping the dharma. And we knew that, and we saw that from the entire life of Mahatma Vidura. So in that opulences, in that situation, Vidura also took shelter of complete surrender unto the Supreme Lord and traveled all over the places almost 12 years. And then we know that finally came to the banks of Yamuna. There Vidura was meeting Uddhava, and Uddhava was inquiring about all the well-beings of in the Supreme Lord and associates of the Supreme Lord and the Pandavas and the Dhritarashtra, and remembering and recollecting all their greatness that they had because of they were all pure devotees of the Lord. That's why Vidura was mentioning and remembering them. And that's also the reason that Sukadeva Goswami was referring all of them in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is all about the Supreme Lord and his devotees. So we know that if something, or especially Sukadeva Goswami, very exalted personality, when refers somebody who is very dear to his devotees, that means that we can understand from Srimad Bhagavatam itself that because of their position, because of their pure devotion, and their significance. That's why they are all here into this Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's mentioned that they are all very close associates of the Lord and inseparable from the Lord. They are eternal associates of the Lord. That's why they are in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Mahatma Vidura and all these great personalities are mentioned here is actually is very, very devotees of the Lord. And also because of when they Vidura or Sukadeva Goswami referred in the Srimad Bhagavatam, so we can also learn a lot from these personalities. So how we should be also can become pure devotees of the Lord. That is the message that we get each and every verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. So here in the last class, we were going through, Mahatma Vidura was mentioning to Uddhava that I am not astonished at this, having traveled over the world without being seen by others. We know that context. And Vidura disguised himself as a mendicant. Because even though prime minister of his entire earth that time, Bharatavarsha, and or we can say that the Hastinapur, and it was ruled by the great personalities. And here Mahatma Vidura traveled all over the world without seen by others. And Vidura didn't want to reveal himself that he is Vidura. Then it would obstruct his dedication to the Supreme Lord. His intention was to completely dedicate unto the Supreme Lord. So, dear devotees, this is the one of the another great example that we have to learn from Srimad Bhagavatam. Here we can see that if somebody is in there for a few years in the devotee community, or he get initiated, he get some kinds of positions, what he does actually now started to show that to everyone, oh, I am so and so, so and so this, I'm having this position, I'm a great devotee. So his walk, his talk, his attitude, behavior, everything, as okay, I'm so great devotee, everybody should give me obeisances. That kind of attitude. Here, on the other hand, Mahatma Vidura, he is actually a great personality and a great devotee, but he disguised himself as a mendicant, as who is going to the door to door to beg for the alms to live, and sleeping on the floor, on the ground, or under the trees, and drinking water from the river. Think about it. So this is the great quality of a devotee. And why it is mentioned, Sukadeva Goswami mentioned here like that, not seen by others. So devotion should be like that, not to show off to anyone. It should be with the, very, very, what is called silently, very, very unseen by others. Our devotion should be like that, not to show off that, I am so and so. I am, oh, so look at that, how I am chanting. And some people, we know that when they do the Ekadashi Vrata, and they say, oh, I'm doing the Nirjala, then this, person who is doing that, doing this, and, started to announce to everyone, and, just by indirectly saying that, oh, how was your Vrata, Ekadashi? I said, yeah, I was doing okay, fine. I was doing Nirjala Ekadashi for all this time. And oh, you're so great, you're wonderful. So basically, these are all our subtle desires to have the sense pleasure. Because when we hear that, oh, you're so great, we get some kind of pleasure. Oh, you are so and so, we get some pleasure. If somebody gives me offering, and if somebody does not give me offering, oh, he's not a devotee. And this is our attitude and behavior, that we judge others. And where it's come from? Because of we are just showing off. We are not in the pure devotional platform. When we are on the pure devotional platform, then we know that we completely surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and then there is nothing else matters to that devotee. External behavior, external things like, what you wear, where you go, whom you meet, where you sleep, what you eat. Yes, I mean, pure devotee always in the consciousness of Krishna, then everything will be in that devotional platform. It's not that, they go and eat anything, everything. No, they just go to the door to door, and usually the Brahmins or the mendicants or the sages, sadhus, they go to the, the houses, those who are like a Brahmins, and, those who follow the bhakti and pure devotion. And they just collect something, and then they come and cook for themselves, and they eat. And then they offer to the Lord. And this is the devotee's life. So they only conscious of the Supreme Lord. So here, Mahatma Vidura was like that. So, dear devotees, this is another lessons that we can learn from this Srimad Bhagavatam, that how a devotee should be. Not show off anything like that. We should be always conscious and chant the holy name. And if we chant the holy name, not to declare and announce it to the world, I am chanting 24 rounds, I am chanting 32 rounds, I'm chanting 624, 64 rounds, I am so and so, I do this, I do this, I do this. Look at me, look at my tilak, look at my dhoti, look at my kurta, look at my all this. This is generally that we can see this common attitude of the, whoever it is. So I'm a great singer, I'm a great speaker, I'm a great devotee. Everybody should follow me. Everybody should listen to me, like that. But yes, of course, we should follow our, spiritual master. Whatever spiritual master says, we should follow. And we should follow our gurus, that we have Shiksha gurus. We should definitely follow the Shiksha gurus. Yes, of course, we should follow the senior devotees that we see, and the senior devotees in the pure devotional platform. So we should definitely follow them, and whatever follow their instructions. So this will all benefits us. So this is very important lessons to learn from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's why it is mentioned here, without being seen by others. That means Mahatma Vidura was completely surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. Then the activities of the personality of Godhead, which are like those of a man in this world, are bewildering to others. So that we can see that. And, when Lord Ramachandra Bhagavan was here in this material world, Lord was actually acting like an ordinary man. When Mother Sita is abducted by Ravana, and Lord Ram was virtually in full of distress, full of pain, full of sorrow, full of unhappiness and crying, and eagering to have the association and get Mother Sita back, and all this done. So when an ordinary person look at this, oh, Lord Ram is like us. He is, very much attached to his wife. And, he is going around and weeping and asking, and very much in distress. But we don't know, because we are not in that transcendental platform. Then we compare everything, the Lord's activities with our activities. But when only one who comes to the transcendental platform can understand that why Lord is acting like that. Lord is a Maryada Purushottama. Lord is exhibiting that what is the ideal for each grihastha, each person, and how to perform, execute, how to execute the devotional service. So only one who comes to this platform of devotion can understand that. Otherwise, we don't understand. So we just compare with ourselves that what ordinary activities. But these great personalities are not ordinary because of their exhibiting their pastimes, and they're exhibiting and revealing to the people that what is ideal for each grihastha. So we should always see that, always seize that the Lord's activity is not the ordinary common man's activities. When Lord performs anything, that is a lessons for each and every living entity, like that. So, but in each incarnation, the purpose is different. Each incarnation is different. So we have to, only when it comes to the devotional platform, we can understand this. Lord Ram's are actually activities our Lord was fulfilling the desires of his devotees in the past life and in this lifetime and all. So this we can understand only through the scriptures. So it's very important. So it is very bewildering for the devotees, or bewildering for the ordinary man, like those of a man like this material world. The activities of the Lords are very bewildering. But Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, Krishna says, Janma karma jame divyam, evam yovedi tattvadaha tektva deham punarchanmana idi mamedi. So Arjuna, my transcendental appearance and activities are divine. One who hears this, upon leaving the body, never comes back into this material world again. They will attain me. This is Krishna was telling to Arjuna in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The appearance and activities of the Supreme Lord is divine. So this is what is we have to listen. This is what is we have to hear, dear devotees, because of Lord's activities are very divine. In this material world, we are so fortunate, we are so grateful, and our great, because of our most fortunate that we are able to hear the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, we will not able to, hear the pastimes of the Lord, because of the pastimes of the Lord, which is we are hearing or seeing, is actually manifested for pastime. But behind the scene, that there are so many pastimes also happen, so many things happens. That is all, according to the Lord's and Lord's expansions and expansions of the expansions and expansions, plenary expansions, like that. There are various incarnations of the Lord. Is all acting accordingly through the various incarnations of the Lord. But when Lord comes down on this planet, as we know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, manifests in this world on the one day of Brahma, that is called the Kalpa. So in one Kalpa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared himself. And then when we hear the activities and the appearance of the Lord, dear devotees, this is called Prakata Leela, or the manifested pastimes. And this is because of the great mercy of the Supreme Lord that we are able to hear those pastimes, or in connection with those pastimes, and we remember those pastimes. This is only the mercy of the Lord. Everything happens in this world because of the mercy of the Lord, because of the will of the Lord. So we should be always under. So it's very important that as a human or any living entities, that we hear the appearance and activities of the Lord, and Lord reveals himself that which is divine. So that is our great perfection of the life, great success of our life, that if we are able to hear constantly, we are able to hear the glories of the Supreme Lord constantly, we are able to chant the holy name of the Lord, names of the Lord constantly. That is our perfection of the life, because that means the Lord is showering the mercy upon us. That's why we are able to do that. Otherwise, we will not be able to do that. So, but Mahatma Bidira was remembering the greatness of the Lord. Mahatma Bidira says that, but I know of his greatness by his grace, and thus I am happy in all respect. By his greatness, by his grace, right? I know of his greatness by grace. It's very important to understand. If anything that we are hearing of the Supreme Lord, if you are able to understand, remember, and engage in the devotional service, this is only by his greatness, or only by his greatness, by grace, by his grace, right? Of his greatness by his grace. That means only we can understand the Supreme Lord only by his grace. Only we can hear his holy name by his grace. Only we can chant his holy name only by his grace. Only we can engage in the devotional service only by his grace. Only we can engage in the devotional activities only by his grace. Only by we can able to distribute the books by His grace. Only we can, associate with the devotees only by His grace. Only we can enter into the temple is by His grace. Anything in relationship with Krishna, anything that is only by His grace, by devotees. And this is not an ordinary, activity, because of many, many lifetimes of our pious activities and the credit. That's why we are here in this situation, that we can, engage some extent in the loving devotional service, especially hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the foremost of the 64 devotional qualities and angas. And 5, Sri Rupa Goswami mentions about the 9 out of 64 is very prominent that one has to follow. That's 9 prominent devotional, processes are Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. That means Shravanam means hearing the glories of the Supreme Lord from the Srimad Bhagavatam and the devotees of the Lord, Mahabhagavad and Srimad Bhagavatam. Shravanam and Kirtanam, chanting of the holy name. And as we know that we are vowed to chant the holy name, and we should always chant the holy name. And then we should always, when we are not chanting at the time, then we can remember the Supreme Lord. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. We should chant the holy name of the Supreme Lord and Smaranam. And if you are not chanting and hearing, and in that time we can do the Smaranam. We have to remember the Supreme Lord, Smaranam. So Smaranam means remembering the Supreme Lord and activities of the Supreme Lord. So we should hear, then we should remember those past times that Lord is so divya, Janma Karma Jame Divyam. His activities are divine. So we can remember that. When we remember that the past times of the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Lord, it is divine, and one can be elevated to the Krishna consciousness, and one can finally attain the Supreme Lord just by remembering as well. We know that Prahlad Maharaj was remembering the Supreme Lord all the time. So like that, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam. Pada Sevanam means engaging in his loving devotional service. Pada Sevanam, and engaging in the service, like, making the garland and the Lord's service and the cleaning of the temple and, making everything ready for, the worship of the Supreme Lord, and engaging directly in his service. Pada Sevanam, Archanam, offering whatever we have, we should offer to the Supreme Lord. And nothing is ours. We are not the proprietor for anything. Nothing belongs to us. Everything is the mercy of the Lord. Everything comes from the Supreme Lord. So we should always have that attitude of offering to Krishna anything we have, even the family, even the house, even the children, even whatever that we have, the dress, jewelry, ornaments, everything we should offer to the Lord. Then we should, as a gift, as a mercy of the Lord, then we should honor that. This is the way to live in this world. This is art of living. This 9 processes is basically nothing but an art of living, dear devotees. So it's very, very important that we always have this attitude. Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, offering, Vandanam. We should always give the obeisance to the Lords and his devotees. And why we are offering the Vandana? Because of then we will be free from our false ego. Otherwise, if we don't do this one, and we are always having this self-centric attitude of, oh, I'm so great, everybody should give me respect. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. We should give respect to all of these living entities in this world, and we should not expect any respect in return. So this is what it is. We should always give Vandana. So especially we should give the obeisances, Vandanam, obeisances to the Supreme Lord and his devotees and the living entities. As we are understanding, we are subordinate, we are part and parcel of the Supreme. We are entitled to give the obeisances and respect to each and every living entity in this world, understanding I'm very insignificant in this world. I'm very insignificant. I'm nothing in this world. I am completely the mercy of the Supreme Lord, nothing else. I'm completely here. Anything I have is the mercy of the Lord. If I have little happiness, it is the mercy of the Lord. Even if I am having some difficulties, that's also mercy of the Lord, because of when we go through the difficulties, we understand that the importance of the value of the life and importance of become Krishna consciousness, importance of taking shelter of Krishna, because of everything comes from Krishna. So only by the mercy of the Lord, even we can have the joy in this world, or whatever the pleasure or the happiness we get is from the Lord that we can have. So in order to live happily and joyfully, we should take the shelter of the Lord. So we are nothing. We are nothing in this world, very insignificant. We cannot even make a simple little grass, even this world. Everything comes from the Lord. So we should have this understanding. We are insignificant. We are subordinate. We are part and parcel. Our only shelter is the Supreme Lord. Only because of when a child, he is when he is live with his parents, when he's under the under the shelter of his parent, he's completely happy. He does not need to worry anything about it, because of he knows that his father, his parents provides everything to that child. A little child, I was seeing that a little child was crawling on the ground, and there is a little low the floor, and about to child doesn't know that whether I go forward, I will fall down or not. But immediately the mother who was there, mother took care of that child. So, dear devotees, this is our condition in this world. We should have this understanding, because of we are moving in this world. We don't know where is our next, fall down, next ditch, and when we are going to have this problem and suffering. But when we take the shelter of the Supreme Lord as a parent, Krishna will take care of us. Krishna will take us in his hands, and falling down from these glitches, or falling down into the suffering of this material world. Because of Krishna is like a parent, as a father, he takes care of this child. One who takes the shelter of Krishna, like a child always under the shelter of the parents, and took care of the parents. If child needs anything, he cries. And he knows that when a child cries, mother is ready to give the milk and feed him. And the child is under the protection of the father and the mother. This child knows that my father, my mother will take care of me. So like that, dear devotees, we should have this understanding. We should always, take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Then, understanding that we nothing that we can create, or nothing is in our hand. We are so insignificant in this world. So we should always give respect, vandana to the Supreme Lord, because of our gratitude. Show our gratitude and understanding, oh Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please protect me, or please take shelter, give me your shelter. Please engage me in your service, so that I can be always in your vicinity, always in connection with you, always in yoga with you. And these devotees, this is our attitude. This should be our vision. So Vandana is very important. Vandanam, dasyam. We should always engage in the loving devotional service, in the servitude, attitude of servitude. We should be dasyam, always ready to serve the service, always ready to serve the service to the Supreme and his devotees. Very, very important. Always ready to do the service. Never that kind of a grudge that I am so and so. I have this position. I am the managing director of the company. I'm the CEO of the company. I'm a police officer. I am this. I'm a president. I'm a Sankirtan manager. I am this. I am that. I am this. So how can I do this? Or this devotee come and ask me, okay, do this service. Oh, how dare he can come and I'm so senior to that devotee. This is our attitude. We should change that. Always ready to do the service for the Supreme Lord and his devotees. So then if some devotees come and ask, always take it as a mercy, because of this comes through the Lord. It's the will of the Lord that coming through a devotee doesn't matter. So pure devotee always thinks I am not the devotee. Everybody else is a devotee. So we should always take ready to do the service. That's called dasyam, means always ready to the service to the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And sakyam. And there is no need of fearful of the Lord. Lord is our dear friend. He is a well-wisher. He says that Bhaktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Sugurdam Sarvabhutana. Sugurdam. He is the well-wisher for all the living in it. That's the real Sugurd. Sugurd means friend. Friend means Sugurd. That there are many things, in the context of this Sugurd, or friend, an ordinary friend, well-wisher, and many, like. Sugrud is the actual word. In Sanskrit, Sugrud means he's a well-wisher of, we know that we have lots of Facebook friends. We can't say that, okay, they are all the well-wishers of us, right? If somebody put some post or something like that, always this person is envious of us, even though the so-called friend, but the attitude is actually the competition of it, right? And many friends are actually, something happens to us and he's happy in behind, in his heart, oh, this is happened to me. We never take care of, if in an, so friend in need is friend indeed. It is mentioned that a friend in need is friend indeed. That means whenever there is a difficulties and whenever there is a need of the friend, that anything happens to us, that friend, a real friend, is always with us. That time this friend never cheat us or go away from us. And then in the happiness and even the distress, in the good condition and the bad condition, good time and the bad time, a person is with us in our both in happiness and distress. He is a friend. So dear devotees, the Lord is like that. Lord is a Sugrud, he is a well-wisher for us. In all situations, Lord is there for us, for our betterment, for our benefit, for our well-being. So Lord is there. So Lord is a friend. That's why it's very important to understand Lord is friend. Sugurdam sarvabhutanam. That's why we say da sakyam. So we can have this sakya relationship. We can have the dasya relationship, servitude or attitude of servitude, and the friendship and sakya, and then sakyam, dasyam, sakyam, then atmanivedanam, because of, we have to understand, dear devotees, we are belongs to him. We are property of him. We are his mercy. We are part of him. Everything, whatever we have, is belongs to him. What is his? Nothing, even the breath of us, that is his. Nothing else. Everything is actually manifested him. Mayadhyakshena prakriti sriyade sacharacharam. Under my superintendence, everything manifests. Mayadhyakshena prakriti sriyade sacharacharam. Hedunanena kaunteya. I am the cause of everything. Hedunanena kaunteya. Jagat Vibari Vastade, dear devotees, even our body, even our mind, even our senses, he is Govinda. He is the controller of the senses. He is a controller of our mind, but he is actually then act according to our desire. So he fulfill our desires because of he is very compassionate. He is very dear to his each living entity, his father. So father provides the needs of the child. Like a father cries a lot, then out of compassionate, after long crying, then father gives that. I remember myself, one time I was planning to go for excursion from the school, and my father didn't want to allow me to go far. I'm in the 7th standard. So going to the UT and, different other places. And I was started to cry and cry and cry. Everybody else is going. And finally he agreed, because of he initially thought that, I will be in a danger and, so many things. Then I was keep crying, like almost an hour I cried. And then he was hesitating, but finally, said, okay, go, relax that. So this is what is happening. We have this desire. Everything happens according to the will of the Lord, everything arranged by the Lord. But when we have a desire, he also arranges that. That's what is happening in a subtle form. That's what is happening to us. Everything is actually according to the Supreme Lord. So we have to understand this, and we have to completely surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding this, because we are helpless, we are incapable. That's what is called Sharanagati, Atmanivedana. So Mahatma Vidura was like this. Mahatma Vidura was completely understand this, and he's completely surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. So we were going through this Sharanagati, or the complete surrenderness to the Supreme Lord, in the last class, and we were talking about the Dainya, or the helplessness. What we can do, we are completely helpless in this world, dear devotees. All we need to take the shelter of the Supreme Lord. We are incapable of doing anything in this world. We are completely unto the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So we have to always have this understanding. So as we says that, what is Sharanagati? Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur very nicely explains about the Sharanagati. Anukulasya Sangalpa. So we have to have Anukulasya Sangalpa, that we have to do everything which is favorable for our devotional service, or to please the Supreme Lord. Anukulasya Sangalpa, Pratikulasya Varjida. That means we have to avoid of all which is not favorable for the service of the Supreme Lord, which is not pleasing to the Supreme Lord. So, Anukulasya Sankalpa, this is called the Sharanagati. So, we have to have this, we have to do and execute what is favorable in for our devotional service. And we have to reject, we have to avoid that which is not favorable for the loving devotional service. And then, Avashya Krishna Rakshiba, and we should understand that Krishna will protect us no matter what. Avashya Krishna Rakshapalana. Avashya Krishna Rakshapalana. Krishna will protect in all circumstances. When we have this understanding, when we have this faith in that Supreme Lord, Krishna will protect us all the time. Avashya Krishna Rakshibe Goptrupte Varanam Tara Tada. Goptrupte Varanam Tara, he is the maintainer. No, who else is maintaining us? Who else is maintaining this world, dear devotees? He is the one who is giving us, he is maintaining us. Anything that we have, he is maintaining us. He is seated in our heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto madhagasmudhi jnanam apohanam cha. He is seated in our heart. From him remembrance comes, forgetfulness comes, knowledge comes. From him comes everything. And that's what is Krishna. He is the maintainer. Goptrupte Varanam Tada. He is Varana. He is maintaining us. And we have to have this faith and understanding. Goptrupte Varanam Tada. Atma Nikshepam. Atma Nikshepam. That means we have to always have this dainya. That means helplessness. That he is the one who is always we should always depend, then we have to depend upon him. Shadvidam Sharanagadim, Shadvidim Sharanagadi, that is, So Shadvidim Sharanagadi, that means this is the 6 ways of Sharanagadi, 6 processes of Sharanagadi, or 6 steps of Sharanagadi. And we have to have the understanding of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur very in detail. Each verse is, and each one is actually explaining in many, many verses of, called the Padhyavali or Saranagati in that Padhyavali. So it's very important that we understand this. What exactly. So this is what is exactly by the life of Mahatma Vidura. So Mahatma Vidura saying, I'm happy in all respect. So this is the way, this is the secret of happiness. This is the secret of our joy and the happiness in this world. Otherwise, unless one doesn't have this understanding, and he has this faith in the Supreme Lord, he cannot be happy in this world. He's always anxious. He's always anxious. We know that every living, that apart from the human, and only the devotees apart from the devotees of the Lord, they're always in anxious, right? We know that the Vaikunta means there is no anxious, there is no anxiety. So Kunda, this material world is called as Kunda, means full of anxious, full of anxiety. Like just for an example, a bird, when they come and eat their grains, he cannot eat properly and peacefully because of he is looking left and right if there is any danger. And this is their nature. And any animal, if you take, like just in the forest, a pack of fox or a pack of dogs, when they come out, and they're very fearful when the tiger is going to attack. When the deer comes into the bushes, come out of the bushes, they always eat and look up again. When they eat a little bit and look up again and left and right, any dangers coming. And because of their anxiety, their ears, their senses are so sharp. Their senses are so sharp because of, in order to protect themselves, because of they don't have that understanding. When they don't have that understanding, their ears, all the senses are so sharp. Even a little sound, they feel that, okay, the danger is in my front. They're afraid of it. I know that when, sometimes we come in the night, we have loads of, the deers comes to our yard. So as soon as they hear the sound of a car, they just, attention, they became so attentive. What is this? And they look at it, and then now they are familiar with nobody is attacking, so they are a little fearless. But this is not the case in the forest. They're always that's called the Davat in the Vapanam, right? In the forest fire, that everywhere that we have this anxiety. And this is called Kundha. So those who are not devotees of the Lord, those who are not having this faith and understanding, they're always in anxiety. Oh, what will happen to me? And if I go, and if I go here, what this person is going to do? And he doesn't have faith and trust in anybody. He never believes in anybody, always doubtful about everybody. Even husband and wife, if they comes, they're doubtful each other. When this husband is going to turn against me, when this wife is going to turn against me, when these children are going to turn against me, when these children are going to take away all my money, when this wife is going to go away from me, and this anxieties, and it's always there, right? This is the human platform, this is the material platform. Those who are not the take the shelter of the Supreme Lord, not that the faithful of the Supreme Lord, not the devotee of the Supreme, not a Krishna conscious, they cannot be happy in this world. Even though they see that there is some little happiness, that is not happiness, that is just a little relief from the both ends of their distress. Like a person in the sink in the water, he is actually, he is under the water. So all on a sudden he get a, somehow he could come out, he could raise his head from this distress condition. He is suffocating, and he get a relief, he get breathe, and he said, "Oh, this is it." But that is just a relief. That's just a relief from our distress conditions. So we think that we interpret, take it that as that is not the happiness, dear devotees. There are different definitions of happiness. We just happy, or we say, it's which sukham, happiness we call sukham. Or there is another beyond that sukha or happiness. There is beyond that. There is called anand. There is another called anand. Anand means bliss. There is a difference, the bliss and the sukha, happiness. Sukha is temporary. Temporary sukha means chapala sukha. It is sukha is considered as chapala or chapala sukha, which is flickering, or we call flickering happiness, or this sukha is little bit. Then after we start to endeavor and endeavor, which doesn't fulfill and doesn't, give that, the fulfillment. But on the other side, one person is blissful, and it's known as, this is called Ananda. Ananda means related to the our eternal nature. And then there is Paramananda. And then is beyond this. Paramananda means the bliss which derives from when we connect ourselves with the Supreme called Paramanandam. Then is condensed, bliss, condensed, those called Sandrananda. So we know that Ananda, Paramananda, Sandrananda, these are the different. Only who is in the devotional platform, who is in the devotional service can relish these various kinds of Ananda, which is related to our eternity, we related to our soul. But anything which is less than that belongs to our body and the senses. That is called Sukha, which is Chapala, because it is all temporary in nature. So here Mahatma Vidura was mentioning that I am in the happiness because of I am surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. In the purport of this, Srila Prabhupada writes very, very much in detail about how Vidura was completely surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. So dear devotees, we have to have, that's why we are listening and hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam that, the lessons of Srimad Bhagavatam is to take us also into that, the supreme destination, or into that, take us to the, always situate into the happiness or the ananda. This here happiness Vidura is mentioning about is ananda. That means which he is deriving the blissful bliss from his devotional service or taking the shelter of the Supreme Lord. So this is the message that we can, take from each verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, how we can put ourselves, situate ourselves in this pure devotional path, only in the pure devotional path. That's the reality. That's absolute truth, right? That's the reality. Otherwise, everything is imaginary. This world is, in one sense, is actually not real. It's temporary. It's not permanent, which is temporary. As we always say that temporary is chapala, is flickering. So that means it's not permanent. So we consider it like a rope, as a snake in this world. So this material world, we think that is real, and but it's actually, it is temporary. It is temporary in the nature. So, but it's not absolute. Only absolute platform, only absolute is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So only this we can understand when we gradually progress in this devotional platform. So as is mentioned that this devotional platform, out of this 9 process of bhakti, then especially the the 5 is very prominent. That is, Sri Rupa Goswami mentioned that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is one of it. And then chanting the holy name is another second one. And then, this worshipping the deities. And then third one, an association of the devotees is fourth one. And then staying in a dham, of course, when we stay in a dham, there is association of the devotees. And especially staying in a dham means we should belongs to a temple. We should belongs to the devotee community. We should belongs to always have association with the devotees. And then we worship the deities, right? We can worship the deity and then association of the devotees, chanting the holy name, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and staying in a dham or worshipping the Tulasi Maharani. So this all happens. We have temple, we have association of devotees, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing, and we have chanting of the holy name. We have easily available all this by the mercy of the Lord. All we need to do is actually our willingness. We have to have that faith in the Supreme Lord. Adau Shraddha. We have to have this faith in the Supreme Lord and put ourselves. So we pray to the Supreme Lord, please engage me in your service. So the foremost of, especially in this, start this process of chanting the holy name. Take up this chanting the holy name. This will give everything. And all this wonderful, and itself, chanting itself can give us the Supreme Lord. That means Supreme Lord means that we would have opportunity to go through all these devotional aspects of our life. But it starts from our faith and the chanting of the holy name. And take the shelter of the Supreme Lord and chant the holy name every day with our deep devotion to the Supreme. So this is the way that we can always, in Krishna conscious and Lord, protects. And that's called Sharanagati. How this complete surrender unto the Supreme Lord, as we discussed today in the class, what are the process of surrendering, and what are the steps of surrendering, what are the understanding of surrendering. That was exactly the Vidura's life. So I just wanted to mention this today. Please take up this, dear devotees. This what is we have to carry forward in day-to-day life, that we have to completely depend upon the Lord. That's what is the Sharanagati. And one is helplessness, and then totally depend upon the Supreme Lord. Understand the dainya and the humility and the dependency, all this. And then Krishna, we should always execute what is favorable for the Supreme Lord and the devotional service, and reject what is not favorable. And then understand that Krishna always protect us, and understand that he is our maintainer all the time. And always we are helpless, and we are completely then depends upon. This is the surrender process. In this way of chanting the Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadhanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavidam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Shware Bhavadad Bhakti Ravi Ahetu Gitai. So, Tarora Visakshana, yeah, he says that Tarora Sagashrana, Tranada Visunichena, Tarori was Sagashrana, Amanina Banadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. With this understanding, dear devotees, chant the holy name. Definitely we will attain the perfection, purify our existence, and that is the perfection of our life. That is the real life. That's a life of absoluteness. That's original. That's because of this is all in a very spiritual platform. This is called spiritual platform. This is our original nature. So thank you, dear devotees. I will stop here with this note. Hare Krishna, and thank you all for joining, and Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class.
Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, not related to today's class, but I was meditating on the answer which you gave on the Bhakti Riksha for Balarama. Remember, I asked you a question about the Kartal, the Balarama. So I was reading about that a lot since then. So Balram is the first expansion of Krishna.
Yes.
Right, and from there all the Sankarshna, Vasudev,
Sankarshan, Vasudev, Pradyumna, Anirudh, yes. Then there is,
So for when we talk about Balram, then anything which is serving God, meaning any instrument you are talking about, or anything which is serving Lord, is Balram.
Is Balaram, yes. So this is
So it can be like the light lamp, the lamp which we offer to Krishna, anything. So that's Balram.
Yes, Balaram.
So then why do we say the bell is Garuna, right?
I mean, that's the form of Garuda actually. It's put it
Okay.
that, but it's actually is Balaram. See, this is the way, right? Krishna has the three potencies. The Supreme Lord is called Sandhini potency and Samrut potency and Hadini potency. So
Right.
Balaram actually expanded just to serve him. This is actually called
Okay.
Balaram is known as
Servant.
Sevaka Bhagavan, right? Sevaka Bhagavan. Krishna is Savior
Okay.
Bhagavan. Krishna is Savior Bhagavan, and to receive the service. And Balaram is the Sevaka Bhagavan. That means he is the in the form of service. So Balaram is just expanded to make Krishna, that he's all the time to please him, to serve him, all the time to serve him. That's Balaram. Balaram, that's why Balaram became the recliner. Even the Vrindavan itself, the abode itself is Balaram. The
Oh,
Vrindavan
okay. So
temple
the
is Balaram,
Vrindavan.
and their abode is
Okay.
Balaram, right? They see that way how it's so. This is a manifestation from the Krishna. Krishna's potency is expanded as in the form of Balaram. His personification is Balaram. His potency is his potency. His personification is
Okay.
Balaram. His potency is expanded everywhere. Even that's why this material nature comes from Balaram actually, because it's the abode for the service of the Lord, right? The abode for the service of that's meant for this material nature. But people are this is created in order to fulfill this desires of the living entities. But in reality, everything is for the service of the Lord. So that's Balaram.
Okay.
So Balaram is the abode of the Lord. But that's why Balaram, Ananda Shesh, or recliner, where the Krishna is lying down on the body of Balaram. And
Yes.
Balaram is
Yes.
ready to serve. This is the complete surrender. This is the epitome of that service, right? Balaram is ready to do. He is even the complete Krishna himself. There is no difference between Krishna and Balaram. Only the difference is in the color. Otherwise, Balaram is Krishna. That Balaram is ready to do any service to Krishna. Any
Okay.
service to Krishna. So, like Sevaka Bhagavan, he's a Sevaka, ready to do any service. And like that. So anything in service of the Krishna, he's a representing Balaram. Anything in service of
Okay. Yeah. Thank
right.
you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Even all
Yeah.
this, the like Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pratyumna, Anirudh, Govinda, Achyuta, Narayana, Govinda is all in one sense actually is the expansions of the Balaram actually. That's why we know that from the Balaram there is a first quadruple expansion, Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Anirudh. From the Mahasangarshan, then again there is a second quadruple expansion, Vasudeva Sankarshan Pradyumna Anirudh. From there, actually, Mahavishnu manifests. From the Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu manifests. From the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu manifests, right? So this basically all the incarnation is coming from Kshirodakshaya Vishnu.
Right.
So where
Right.
is see that? The expansions of the expansions from this. So originally the
Balaram.
source is Balaram, like
Okay.
Krishna's, right? So, but
Yes,
Krishna and Balaram,
Prabhuji.
there is no difference. This is the spiritual realm, spiritual understanding, spiritual, the spiritual nature of it, right? Everything is Krishna
Right.
and absolute, absolute. Everything is Krishna, absolute. That means nothing that we can subtract it to it, nothing we can add to it. That's called
That
absolute, right?
and that is the reason Balram is always there in in every avatar with Krishna.
Any avatars, yes. Krishna's
Okay.
avatars, which come. When
Krishna.
Krishna comes, Balaram is there.
Balram is there.
So Balaram is the, Balaram
Serving.
is the savior, Sevaka Bhagavan, and he's ready to serve. And everything else, creations are actually to serve Krishna. They see understanding, the proper understanding now.
Yes. Yes.
Everything
Yes.
else, every living entities are actually created to serve Krishna, to please
Yes.
Krishna.
Because we are coming from Balram's
He is the
expansion.
nature, yes. Our nature
Hmm.
is that is we are servants of Krishna. We are part
Thank
and
you.
parcel of Krishna. So this all, through the potency of Balaram. So that's every living entities. So that is our nature. So that's all that's why it's very important that we approach a guru and we hear from the guru by the potency of guru. That is the mercy of Balaram, so that we can execute our service to the Supreme Lord.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you.
Not bad.
And Prabhuji, one more question. So the all the Devi Devatas like Ganesh ji and Lakshmi. So these are the expansion of Shirodakshai Vishnu, right?
No, no,
Lead
it's
avatar.
not. It's not. Yeah, I mean, let me also put this way. Like, just we know that now Balaram is actually Sevaka Bhagan. He's ready to do
Yes.
everything. He's ready to serve. He has provide everything. About everything is actually property. Then also we know that Srimati Radharani is the epitome of
Right.
the service, right? The epitome
Right.
of.
Right.
So where that is, receiving all this mercy, right, from the Krishna comes, he's expanding himself as a devotee, right? And
Right.
he's
Right.
expanding himself as a servant. He's expanding as a devotee. You see, everything is actually belongs to the quality of
Krishna.
the spiritual nature of Krishna. This is the real absolute platform. Then when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to the demigods are living entities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Demigods are living entities or called Jiva Tattva.
Mm-hmm.
So Shirodasha Vishnu is a Vishnu Tattva. That means all these incarnations of Tamadi Murti Shikala Niyamena Dishtam Nanavadara Magarod Bhuvaneshu Kindu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat. These different incarnations of all these Malsya, Kurma, Varaha, all these are actually the incarnations of the Shirodakshaya Vishnu, right?
Mm.
The Paramatma, which is seated in our heart, is from the Shirodakshaya Vishnu, is Vishnu Tattva, eternal,
Right.
completely eternal. But Jivas are the demigods, even up to Brahma, are the Jiva Tattva. That means they take birth and they actually
Okay.
stay here for some time. Then they passes and then they die and they go back to the body of Mahavishnu. And then they again
Mm-hmm.
come back, even the Brahma to down to the earth. Ah, Brahma Bhuvaner Loge Punaravartinarchana. Mamabedu Kaundeya Punarjanmana Vidyade. Ah, Brahma Bhuvaner Loge. In this all world, material world. When Brahma to the down to the living, the smallest living entities are actually subject to the repeated birth and death.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what he said. They are called Jiva Tattvas. And yes, Jiva
Yes.
Tattvas are actually marginal potency in the Tadastha Shakti of the Lord. Yes, it's a part and parcel of the Lord, but they are not the gods. They are part and
Mm-hmm.
parcel of the God. They are Tadastha Shakti or marginal potency. That means they are on the boundary of the spiritual realm, and they have a
Mm-hmm.
choice either to enter into the spiritual realm or come to this material world. So those who are has this choice of come to this material world, they are the living entities here called Jiva Tattva, and we are going through here in this world and one by one. So did you understood clear that
Yes. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank
who
you.
is
Thank you,
Balaram,
Prabhuji.
who is
Yes,
Balaram, and what
Prabhuji.
all the properties which use is an expansions of the Balaram, and then an understanding of Balaram. Balaram is the mode is to serve the Supreme Lord. That's the mode we should always have. And that's why we need to approach a spiritual master. Spiritual master is a representation of the Balaram. Balaram is known as Adi Guru. Only Adi Guru can reveal this transcendental truth to serve the.
Understand.
So all anybody says that okay, you don't need to worship the Lord, you don't need to serve the Lord. That means he's not a guru because
Yes.
of he does not have that connection.
Understanding.
So then the devotees, then by the mercy of that, when we have that, the mercy of the Balaram, by the mercy of Krishna, and as it says that by the mercy of Krishna we get a guru, and by the
Mm-hmm.
mercy of a guru we get the Krishna. So like that. So we know that when it comes to the point of Srimati Radharani, how Srimati Radharani is serving the Supreme Lord, right? So this is all
Yes.
interlinked like that. That's why the Krishna's potency, Sandhini potency is Balaram, Samrut potency is Krishna, and Hladini potency is Radharani. So that Hladini, that bliss, Ahlad, that bliss, Ananda, which is actual Krishna's potency,
Yes, Prabhuji.
by the service of that, what is actually the ultimate result of the service to the Supreme is that Ahlad, that
Yes,
Radharani.
Prabhuji.
That means we get the mercy of that. That's what is all this ahlad, all this bliss come from Srimati Radharani, because of
Yes.
which one who engages in the service of the Lord, that means
Mm-hmm.
you know they are actually serving Srimati Radharani. Radharani is the epitome of all the service. So we serve the Radharani. That's why we are called Gauras. We are Gaudiyas. We are the followers of Srimati Radharani. Or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is combined form of Srimad Krishna and Srimati Radharani. See, that's
Yes.
all makes sense now.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. A wonderful question. Wonderful. Nice. Anybody else? Anything to add? Any other questions, comments, reflections? Gauri Mataji, Srinivas Prabhu, Satyabhama Mataji. Okay, so thank you so much, dear devotees. Let us conclude today's class. Thank you, and please continue to join. And probably we were discussing about this means this timing may be a little early for many of the devotees. Then probably we can also see that we can start 9:30 instead of 7 o'clock. Maybe so we'll get some time to prepare ourselves. What do you think? What do you think, all of you?
Prabhuji, anything is fine.
Oh yeah, good, very good. Okay, so we'll think that probably next class onwards you would change to that, and we'll see how things are. Maybe more devotees can join in that case. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
Then
you. Thank you,
let's
Prabhuji.
conclude today's class and pay our obeisance to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vancha kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavanda Ki Jai Srimad
Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nanda Gauri Vaishnavanda Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari.
Hari Hari Bo.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.